I'm not the type of person that platinums games, nor do I particularly have value put into platinum trophies. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely a cool thing, but I rarely feel the need to 100% a game anymore. With that being said, I do have 2 platinums. The first one is Spyro Year of the Dragon, and the only reason I got that platinum is because I love the game so much, and I've replayed it over and over again over the years, and it just kind of naturally happened. But for the other one, which also happens to be one of the best games from last year, Stellar Blade, I actually decided to chase the platinum because I really loved the game, and the platinum looked like a fun trek to take on. And on top of all this, it really wasn't that hard to get it. So with all that being said, let me tell you how this journey went and why I loved it so much. So the game starts you off as Eve, who's a biologically advanced human thing, in the middle of a war against aliens that have invaded Earth. The actual opening scene is a very intense battle between the two entities, where Eve's dropped out of a dropship, that thing gets blown up. Once we land, Tachy, who's seemingly Eve's BFF or mentor, pulls us out of the pods, and we trek on to a big boss battle where Tachy actually gets messed up. And at this point, it's looking like we're next up on the plate. But thankfully, fate intervenes and we're saved by Adam, who's going to be one of the 2 main companions for the rest of the game. Adam then drops us off at our first proper level of the game, Eidos 7, and we progress all the way through it until we get to the first main boss. The first level here is actually a ton of fun, and it's really great at setting the narrative tone, core systems of the game, and characters. And in particular, the combat is a ton of fun, and this game is also visually just stunning. Another really cool aspect of this game is that all of this happened in the demo. This demo leads up to the first boss, and that's actually how I experienced it for the first time. It was about a month before the actual game came out. And the save data from this demo transfers over to the full game. So after I beat the demo, I immediately pre-ordered the game. I waited until it came out and then got right back on it. On the release of the game, I immediately transferred over the save data, and as soon as I started up the full game, the first trophy popped, which was for basically activating the first checkpoint, which is called a campsite. So there goes 1 down. Right after this, I ran back to the boss area, expecting just to move forward with the game because I already beat the boss in the demo. But nope, the boss was back and I had to fight him again, which I really didn't mind because this fight was super fun. And that's one thing about this game, there's really fun boss fights. For this one in particular, it's a great starting boss. It's not super hard, but it is a little bit challenging. It has a unique moveset. It's also a visual spectacle, which most of the boss fights are, but this one in particular is one of the best ones in the game. But after I beat this boss again, the second trophy popped. Really not too long after this, we hit the Hall of Records, where we get some more story bits, we get this hypercell thing, which is what we came to this level for, and then we hit the second boss. This boss is definitely a bit lackluster in comparison to the first one, but it's significantly different and offers a ton of new mechanics, and I really appreciate that. But after taking this boss down, that pops the second trophy. After some light traversal, some puzzle solving, and hitting the next big campsite, we got some more story bits, and then we face off against the main boss of the level, who is the Alpha Natiba, which the Natibas are the aliens in the game. It's basically like a super Natiba or super alien, something like that. And for this one in particular, we need its core to put into the hypercell, to put in a big city here. We'll talk about it a little bit later. But ultimately, we need to take down this guy. But as the main boss of the first level, this fight's great. This guy's got a big moveset, bigger health bar, significant increase in the challenge aspect. And it was just a blast to play. This one took me a few tries, which was really fun. But after I beat him, we get the 4th trophy. Directly after this, we meet our other main companion for the rest of the game, Lily, who's another great side character of the game. From here, we meet back up with Adam. We head to the main hub area of the game, Zion. We meet other important side characters like the Oracle and his bodyguard and whatnot. Explore the city, do some side questy stuff, then head to the first open area of the game, the Wasteland. This open area section, while visually not really appealing because it's literally just a wasteland, is kind of a great open area because it has a ton of side quests and explorable sections that lead to really valuable rewards. I actually spent a ton of time here just exploring and fighting different aliens and doing a lot of side quest stuff. And in the middle of exploration and everything like that, I popped the next trophy, which was for perfect parrying 300 enemies. Which, yeah, in combat there's a parrying system, and if you hit it just before the alien's about to hit you, you get a perfect parry. After this, I spent even more time exploring and doing more side quests, and I ultimately end up at the main endpoint of the Wasteland, which is a little dungeon called Atlas Lavor. Once we get there, we fight this super sexy robot lady, take her down, and she sends us into the first dungeon. The dungeons here in Stellar Blade actually change the core gameplay quite a bit, which is really refreshing. They take away your sword, which is your main weapon, and you're only able to use the projectile weapon. And the dungeons effectively turn this game into a survival horror game. Not really a tough one, but just more kind of spooky one. But it's really good. But after spending a few hours getting through this level, I reached the end where there's a big boss fight that's actually pretty challenging and a ton of fun. And again, you're only using the projectile weapon, which really can make this challenging. But after I beat the boss, I pop the next trophy and collect the second hypercell. We get some more story bits, head back to Zion, put the hypercell in the thingy, get even more story bits, meet more people, get more side quests, and then I actually go back out to the Wasteland to do some of this new side content. Through some of the side questing, I actually run into one of the mini optional bosses, which is basically just a souped up version of the first mini boss in the tutorial section. He's basically just a much stronger version of that with kind of the same moveset, but overall it was a really fun fight, surprise surprise, but it's a super annoying run to get back to the boss. So after a few tries and some long runs, I finally beat him and I popped the next trophy. After beating this boss, I went back out to the Wasteland again to do even some more side content. I ended up popping the next trophy, which was for defeating 100 enemies with beta skills, which beta skills in this game are like super moves. They have a gauge that gets filled up by doing various different tasks. They're kind of like the core component of combat though. And then after popping this trophy, really not too long after that, I popped the next one, which was for defeating 150 enemies with range attacks. And that primarily was through the projectile weapon. After a few more hours of exploring and doing some side content, I decided to progress the main story of the game. And from here we head to the next level, which is Matrix 11. It's basically just another level like the first main level, which was 807. Thematically, it's a little bit different and it adds some variety, which I think is great because again, we've just been exploring the Wasteland for the past 10 hours or so. But after just very little progress through this level, I run into the first boss of the level. And this guy's actually pretty significantly different from all the other bosses. His main thing is he's super quick and you gotta be on top of it with parrying him. I really like this fight because I feel like the parrying here is relatively on par with Sekiro, and overall it feels amazing. But if this boss catches you slipping, it's over. So after trying him out a couple times, getting the feel for the fight, parrying him effectively, I take him down and we pop the next trophy. And then not really too long after this, we hit the next boss of the level, who's almost the opposite of the previous boss. He's super slow, but he hits like a truck. He also has a ton of non-blockable attacks, and a lot of the openings to damage him require you to either do blinkable moves, which is basically where he glows blue and you dodge into him, which activates like an attack animation, and then directly after that he's stunned for a short period of time. And he also has repulsable moves, which is where he glows purple and you have to dodge directly backwards from him, which opens up a weak spot on him that takes extra damage from projectiles. Overall, pretty neat boss. Had a fun time with him, but after I beat him, the next trophy popped. And very soon after this, you make it to the next boss, which is actually our former friend, mentor, or maybe lover, Tachy. She's been infected with an Ativa virus, and we gotta take her down. This fight is a step up in terms of challenge, and it's kind of one of the main fights of the whole game. And another neat thing about this is she actually has two phases. And again, this fight is a visual spectacle. There's a ton of new mechanics introduced here, and it's a lot of fun. But after beating her, I pop the next trophy. From here, we go back to Zion, put in the hypercell that we got from beating Tachy, get some more story bits, explore the city a little bit more, get some more side quests, and then head to the next level, which is the Great Desert. So, yep, another desert level. However, I will say that this one's a lot more interesting than the other one. Generally is better designed and has better discoverable content. But once we got here, I immediately started exploring, and to my delight, I actually ran into an optional boss. I beat this one and then got the next trophy. I then spent some time running around the new area, collecting more side quests, and then I returned to Zion to complete some. In particular, I ended up finishing Kaya's side quest, which she's the main shop owner in Zion that gives you a lot of resources. And this side quest I actually started at the very beginning of the game, and it just kind of leads to more and more steps up until this point. But it's basically just multiple fetch quests. But Kaya as a character, I do kind of like her. She's a little bit dry, but I was excited to see how this quest went. And unfortunately for her, it does not go particularly well. But it does give her some closure, which is nice, I guess. So with that quest done, the next trophy popped. Right after this, I head back to the Wasteland to complete my favorite robot side quest. And for this one in particular, I first had to free up the robot, and I think I did that a while ago. And then I had to run to various different levels, activating terminals. And I just kind of naturally did that by exploring all the areas. But again, it's basically just a fetch quest. But for my boy, I had to see it through. After completing this one, that popped the next trophy. From here, I went back to the Great Desert to explore, and I actually ended up picking up the 200th data entry, which is basically just like data logs, gives you more information about the world and the lore of the game. I didn't think any of them were written particularly well, so I didn't pay too much attention to them. But after doing this, that popped the next trophy. I then explored some more, surprise, surprise, and I finally get the last thing that I need for one of the major side quests of the game, where I put back together the bartender's girlfriend. And in order to do this, I had to find various different parts and do certain steps in order to put her back together. And again, this just kind of naturally happened through exploring. But again, it's ultimately just a fetch quest. But once you put the robot back together, she gives you a mini concert, and we get our next trophy. And then I completely decide to switch it up. I stop exploring, stop progressing side quests, well, kind of, and I decided to become the ultimate fisherman. I legit spent like the next 5 hours fishing and trying to complete the fishing decks. And you know, the strange thing is, you don't even have to get all 25 data entries to pop this next trophy. You only need 20 of them. So after I hit the 20th one, I popped the next trophy. After finishing the fishing episode, I returned to exploring the Great Desert. I decided to try out some of the new abilities that I've unlocked through progressing the story, in particular the burst skills, which are basically like super moves. They're stronger than the beta skills, but they're also harder to get the energy for, so they're of limited use, but they're very valuable. But after defeating 50 enemies with burst skills, I popped the next trophy. Right after this, I defeated 1,500 enemies in total, and I popped the next one. I then decided to go back to Eidos 7, open up a new section of the level for one of the main side quests in Zion, and down here I hit my 200th perfect dodge, and I popped the next trophy. I also decided to do some executions, and I hit my 50th execution, and that popped the next one. After this, I finally decided to progress the main story, and I end up heading to the main dungeon in the Great Desert area, Abyss Lavora. This is basically like a souped up version of the last dungeon, and again, we can only use the projectile cannon thing, but in this dungeon, I actually end up finding my 30th nano suit, which are basically outfits for Eve, and really the main reason why I've been doing all the side content. But once I find it, I have to create it at one of the workbenches at the campsite, so I head over to the next campsite, activate the workbench, create the suit, and then I pop the next trophy. I then head on to complete the dungeon, which again has a big boss at the end, very similar to the first one, end up beating him, and then I get the next trophy. Of course, during this time, you get a hypercell, you get some more story bits, etc. But after that, I go back to the hub world, drop off the hypercell, buy a bunch of material from Kaya's shop, and then max out one of my exospines, which are basically just like combat enhancers. Doing this pops the next trophy. At this point, I've pretty much done all that I can do before passing the point of no return, which is where you head into the final level and you cannot return. So since I've completed most of everything up to this point, I decided to go ahead and push the story forward. But before we do that, if you're liking the video, why don't you hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification, that way you don't miss out on any future videos. 97% of people aren't subscribed, so if you want to subscribe, that'd be great. Thank you. I'd appreciate it. Anyway, back to the video. But before we head on to the final level, there's a secret level that gets unlocked because I accidentally 100%ed Lily's percentage bar, which I didn't really catch on to until about halfway through it. But as you're doing a bunch of the side content and collecting the data logs, all this activity fills up Lily's percentage gauge. Once it hits 100, it unlocks this new level. So for me, it was almost unintentional, but a whole new level with new outfits and everything like that, shit, I'll take it. So I head to this new level, and it's really a pretty great level. It's very similar to Matrix 11 or Eidos 7, and it's actually called Eidos 9. Not particularly original, but okay. And it's really just a great level. And while I'm in that level, I actually open up my 200th box, and that pops the next trophy. I then continue to progress through the level, hit the end of the level, grab the thing from Lily's deceased homegirl. This will be important later. And then I head off to the actual final level. And I don't think it's really fair to call it the final level, because it's more like a final section. Because this stretch is like a ton of different places that are just jam-packed with content. Like new enemies, new environments, new loot, new gameplay experiences. But in particular, the environments are just excellent. And for the majority of the game prior to this, it's mostly just been like desert land and stuff. In this final little run, you go to a snow-capped land, an industrial complex, a space elevator resort, just space, a cherry blossom Asian themed area, an ancient alien crypt, and then maybe like a heaven place. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Shortly after getting past the snow-capped area and into the industrial area, I get enough resources to fully upgrade my tumblers, which are basically just like the healable items of the game, and fully maxing these out pops the next trophy. From here, I hop on this hyper tube thingy, and then grind my way down to this very special boss fight that you actually have to fight twice in the game, because on this round, homeboy just ain't about that life, so he'll come back in later. I then progress through the level, run into him again, and I actually have to beat him 3 times in order to put him down. He's one of the main boss fights of the game, has a ton of moves, and is actually pretty difficult. Just a super fun fight. But after beating him, I get the next trophy. From here, we move forward into the Space Hub section, which is a really cool section of the game. I mean, all of these sections at the end are really good, but this one in particular, really, really neat. But the most important thing about this section is that I can get the last can that I need to complete my can collection. The cans in this game are the collectibles, and throughout the game, I've been collecting cans, so this last can was all I needed to complete it. There's nothing really special about these, except for the super neat animation that Eve does on each one. But after hitting certain milestones of collections, you get specific rewards, with the ultimate reward being one of the best outfits in the game. So I stayed collecting these cans. But once I got this final can, this popped the next trophy. The area right after this is the Cherry Blossom section area, and this is just downright gorgeous. It's absolutely beautiful. It's a really short section, but there's a big boss fight here, and it's just wonderful. It has an amazing boss arena, unique mechanics, super fun, super challenging, and the boss is a robot alien geisha spider lady. One of the best boss fights, if not the best. But after I beat her, that popped the next trophy. From here, I head over to the space elevator, which shoots us up into space, but it takes a while, so you're in the elevator for a significant amount of time. But as you're going up to the space station, right before hitting the next boss, I find the last beta energy upgrade, which basically just increases the amount of beta energy that you can have, and this pops the next trophy. Right after this, I head to the next boss, which is magical. For these last 5 bosses or so, they really stepped it up. This guy's literally called a Demigorgon, and it's exactly what you would think of when you think of that name. He has a bunch of like super magical moves, like alternate dimension type stuff, and just all types of crazy crazy moves. It's such a good fight, such a big spectacle, just excellent. Right after he's beaten, there's a whole set piece that goes off where Eve gets shot out into space, supercharges the pod gun, and blasts a massive Naytiba that's engulfing the whole space station center mass. Eve ends up falling to Earth. Lily calls in a near automata mech suit to catch her, and then when we get back to Earth, the next trophy pops. From here we head back to Zion, but this time it's on fire. We rush to go check on the Oracle, and right before getting to his chamber, I get a chance to rest and upgrade. I assume there's going to be a boss fight, so I use the upgrade material that we just got from the prior boss fight to deck out the sword and fully upgrade it, and this pops the next trophy. At the same time, I also max out all the skills on the skill tree, and that pops another one. I then proceed into the chamber, and we find the bird lady from the very beginning of the game that RIP'd Tachy, and then we proceed to squabble up with her. Once we beat her down though, she bails because she's a punk. We make our way to the Oracle, and the Oracle actually tells us that he's an alpha Naytiba, and that the Naytibas are actually humans, and we are androids. What? No one saw that coming. Anyway, he gives us his core, takes a long nap, and we're off to get the Elder Naytiba. Lily decides to join us in that near automata mech suit to effectively do nothing. This will be important later. We then progress just an inch through the next level, and we hit a main boss, and that's that Raven girl that's been talking to us through the Star Wars hologram thing the entire game, and she's mad jelly of us, and Eve's big mad because she iced Tachy, so you know it's on. And she's a really tough fight. The whole mechanic of that fight is really around perfect blocking her and getting her into a staggered state. And it takes a while to learn that, but once you do, it's a ton of fun. Another great fight, and after beating her, that pops the next trophy. I then pass into the Mines of Moria, but it's no mine. There's a ton of alien sacks that are housing fresh Naytibas in them and flying jellyfish for some reason, and this area just looks breathtaking. But as I progress a little bit, I hit the final campsite, and it turns out, prior to this, I've actually activated every other campsite, so this pops the next trophy. After admiring the views for a little bit, I head down to face the Elder Naytiba, and this is the final boss of the game, which of course turns out to be our homeboy, Adam. What? Who saw that coming? He explains that he's trying to help us, the androids, and the humans, which are the Naytibas, by building a bridge between the two, and for some reason we need to fuse with him. And this goes on for a while, and he actually does make a compelling case. But I say, F that, we scrapping. So I let him turn into the Elder Naytiba, we battle it out, and of course I beat him down. And again, this is a great fight. Just another great fight. New mechanics, more challenging, excellent, great last boss. But after we beat him, it actually pops 2 trophies, one of which for achieving this ending of the game, which there are 3 of, and the other one for gathering information on all different types of Naytibas in the game. And you do that by battling them. From here, Mother Sphere, which is essentially like our boss, comes down, takes us back to the colony, which is essentially our home. And it's not quite what we expected. And in fact, I think I just picked the bad ending. Thankfully, I had a big brain moment. I reloaded the last save, entered the last boss fight, and actually decided to fuse with the homeboy. By doing this, Mother Sphere actually gets riled up, takes over Lily's mech, and now I've got to fight the mech with Lily inside of it. Again, another exceptional boss fight. But in my opinion, it's a lot harder than the other boss. And it's probably the hardest boss in the game, which I like a challenge, so I'm definitely about it. However, in the middle of the fight, there's a phase shift that is preceded by the cinematic of something really bad about to happen to Lily. But because we went to the hidden level, or the secret level, we got that thingy from Lily's dead homegirl, nothing happens to Lily. From here, the second phase begins, and towards the end of this phase, Eve goes Super Saiyan, and we just beat the brakes off of 2B's metal jacket. And then the next trophy pops. Right after this, Mother Sphere comes down again, but she's not coming to take us home this time. Instead, she sends an army to take us out, and the last sequence of the game is Eve taking out a ton of different androids, which you get to control, and it's just a super great last set piece. There's a bunch of epilogue scenes that kind of sets up a sequel, which I really hope they do. This was a great game. But overall, this was a great game. It was a great experience, and it was just a blast to get the platinum. Oh yeah, actually the platinum didn't pop yet. Okay, so which trophies am I missing? Well, shit. Once you beat the game, you can enter New Game Plus and put the game on hard mode. I thought there were challenging bits to this game, but it definitely could have been harder. So I decided to bump it up to hard mode on the second playthrough. And it was worth it. It was so much more fun on hard mode. But even more fun than that, there are a ton of new outfits in New Game Plus. And really, that's why I decided to play the game again. But I also noticed that I was really close to platinuming the game. So this was right around the time that I got the idea of platinuming this game in my head. This will be important later. But as I was just naturally playing through the game again, I ended up popping the next trophy, which was for defeating 50 enemies in Tachy mode. You actually gain this mode after beating Tachy, the first time around that is, and it's basically like a super rage mode where you have a bunch of spammable powerful attacks and you're invincible in it. But I honestly hardly ever used it in the first playthrough, but I thought I ought to try it out here, and that's how I got the trophy. And kind of similar to this, I apparently missed a ton of the health upgrades through the first playthrough, and towards the middle of the second playthrough, I finally got enough to max out my health, and that popped the next trophy. And now finally, there was only one more trophy holding me back from the platinum. But there's also 2 New Game Plus trophies. And towards the end of the second playthrough, I ended up popping one of the New Game Plus trophies, which is for acquiring all the new skills that you get in New Game Plus. And then onto the last trophy. The final trophy is for getting the other ending. Again, there's 3 main endings. I got 2 of them, but I was locked out of one of them. Remember when I got the second ending and it looked like something bad might happen to Lily, but it didn't because we went to the secret level and we got that thingy from her girlfriend? That thingy apparently stops the mech from killing Lily. And in order to get the next ending, we have to let Lily die. So that second ending that I got, where we fuse with Adam and Lily doesn't die, is technically the good ending and or the completionist ending. But this last one, Lily's gotta die. And you know, I just don't know if I can do something like that, to sit here and watch her get zapped and like have her fall in the arms and have all that, you know, that seems really sad. I don't want to go out like that. So anyway, I sped ran the second playthrough, not picking up any data logs so I wouldn't accidentally fill up Lily's percentage gauge. Got the outfits that I wanted, and then ponied up to send this robot lady to the junkyard because I'm getting that platinum, baby. And with that, I did it. I beat the game again, and I got the platinum. And it was a ton of fun. I absolutely love this game. Stellar Blade feels like a breath of fresh air, especially with modern day gaming. And overall, the game was just fun. And I even went back to do the Nier DLC and get the photo mode. And once again, great platinum, ton of fun, and I only wish I could do it all over again. If you liked the video and you want to see more like this, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell notification. That way you don't miss out on any future videos. Again, 97% of my viewers are not subscribed. So if you aren't and you kind of want to, just go ahead and do it. Just go ahead and do it. Press that little button. And leave a comment and tell me what you thought about the video or what you'd like to see me do next. I know this video was a bit different, but I just wanted to try something new in between the main videos. Let me know if you liked it. If you did, I'll try to do more like this. I have officially completed FF7 Rebirth, and that video is on the way, so stay tuned for that. Again, thank you for all the support. I appreciate each and every one of you. I love seeing what you think about the video or your opinions in the game in the comments. Also, if you want to help support the channel further, consider becoming a member, get some extra loyalty badges, emojis for comments, and a shout out in my next video. It's $1, and that's a great prize. I don't know, think about it. Let's think about it. But until then, I wish you all the very best. I hope you enjoy. Bye-bye!
To you.